Hey, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out this evening. Let's start with prayer. Father God, your word says that we can make our plans, but you direct our paths. Lord, our desire is to talk about the Israel tour tonight and to see the land where the Bible happened. Lord, so as we talk, Lord, may you be glorified through all of this. Lord, may you work out all the details that still need to be worked out. May you guide and direct each person, Lord, to just show them and give them the information that they need to make decisions about whether they should attend or not. Lord, we just commit this evening to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Well, again, good evening. If you don't know me, I'm Dwayne. I've had the privilege of going on the tour twice now, once in 2017 and then this past tour that we finished in 2022. And it was an amazing experience for me personally. And it took twice me going to really kind of grasp all that was going on that to understand Israel better. Just to say, you might go once and then think, man, I really would like to go again sometimes. And that was really what happened with me. So we're going to cover a whole bunch of things tonight. We have a slideshow that is coming. It'll be here soon. The person that's doing that was away on a trip and will be here in just a few minutes to plug in for that. So the first thing that we're going to look at tonight is the brochure. So if you just want to pull that out, I would just want to point out a few things to you on that. If you need any paperwork or brochure, Robin has them all here. Just raise your hand and Robin will get them to you. Robin, Brad, and do you guys need them back in the back there? Yeah, if you can give paperwork to them there. So, okay. So on the front of the brochure, a couple of things to point out here. One, at the very top, note it is a 12-day tour. The first part of the tour is a 12-day, and we can add a 3-day extension. So that includes the flights on both ends. So it's 1 day of travel on each end, a day to get there, a day to get back. It's a 10 or 12-hour flight. I can't remember which way. One's 10, one's 12 coming back, going and coming back. So those are the dates. Those are firm. That's what we're booking. So December 3rd through the 15th for the inspirational tour. And then if you are interested in the Jordan extension, that's the 15th through the 18th. That's at the tail end of that. And Pastor Tom will be talking about that more in a bit. At the bottom of the brochure, there is a dedicated website just for our tour. So you can see it in the yellow letters at the bottom. It says pilgrimtours.com, and it says Calvary Chapel, Lebanon 2024. So there is a website. Now this website won't be live until towards the end of next week. So don't go looking for that yet. But if you're interested, you can register online at that website, or you can register by paper as well, and we have those paper information there. So you can look at that website for more information. Also, questions that you may have between now and the time the tour happens can be directed to Tom or I, but more importantly, Ginger Snyder is the contact person for all things Israel Tour related in terms of whatever you may have regarding how to register or payments or anything like that. It's Ginger Snyder. She's the person to talk to. Tom is the host of the tour. There's always a pastor host that goes along, and then there's some teachings that happen there. So inside the brochure, then you'll see what each day is roughly like. So we typically try to get a flight out of Newark, New Jersey, leave here early in the morning, drive to Newark, and then have a flight usually around midday or so, which puts us in Israel first thing in the morning, about 6 o'clock in the morning, ideally. So that's what we try to do. And then we hit the ground running with a full day of touring once we get there. So we start right away. So when it says day one, that's the departure. Did they mix up the date here? No, that's the day we get there, day one. We land, actually, I think they did, I missed that. Are those dates off by 1 day? Okay, well, so the first day that we get there, we go right up the coast and hit Caesarea, Mount Carmel, heading north along Israel, and you'll see some of the slides about that. You'll see Caesarea by the sea, where Herod had one of the capital of his region was there. Lots of things. We'll see Mount Carmel on the first day. So each day is listed, and we try to hit pretty much as it's described in the brochure. Now, what happens on the tour, or what can happen on the tour, is that the tour guide may need to make some adjustments based on whatever's happening in Israel at the time, including roads being closed for construction, or some of the national parks being closed or delayed, or whatever it may be. So the tour guide is very aware of all that's going on there, and so they may need to make some adjustments as the days go on, if that makes sense. So it may not happen exactly as this is described here, but it's roughly that. And you can count on that. Wednesday the 4th. Okay. Yeah. I see. That makes sense. Yes. Oh, I was looking at the wrong numbers. Yeah. Yeah, it's right. Let me check that. Okay. Okay. And as you can see from the brochure, there is a lot that happens each and every day. So you won't have time we won't be able to spend extensive amount of time at each site. And some people have said in the past that, wow, this was kind of rushed at this site, or they wish they could have stayed longer at that one. And that's kind of the way that the tour tends to go, because there's so much to see, and we try to pack absolutely as much as we can into each day. So just to be able to see what you can see. Most, might make this trip once, and so you obviously want to see as much as you can. You can do pre-reading about each site. If you have this, you can look ahead and read on Wikipedia or wherever on Israel Tours. You can look at more information from the site, and we'll provide an actual little booklet about all of the locations as well, so you can read more on the history, just to be ready for what you end up seeing there. So the tour, we tend to spend about 3 to 4 days in the north, and stay up in a hotel up in Galilee, and then spend one night at the Salt Sea or the Dead Sea, and then spend the rest of the time in Jerusalem. So 3 different hotels for the main tour. So the first part will be out of Galilee, and then one night at the Salt Sea, and then the rest of the time in Jerusalem. So there'll be some transitions that happen there. And then some of the highlights, of course, seeing Masada, where the dead on day 6, the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's so much to see. Caesarea Philippi on day 4. You get to ride on one of the boats on the Sea of Galilee, and get out there again, pending the weather's nice. The 2 times I was there, it was beautiful. This year, what we haven't done before is a trip to Jericho, and so we built that in on day 5. So that's a new one. We've driven by it. You can see Jericho from the highway, and you can see the mound where Jericho is, but we haven't ever toured that. Do you want to hook up your laptop a while? Yeah. Yeah. In Jerusalem, there's a lot to see. We'll include that is like walking through Hezekiah's tunnel, if you're up for that. Not everybody wants to do that, but that's an optional thing to do that. The first time was a bit scary for me to do that. Second time I knew what to expect, so I enjoyed it more. The second time I went through that. So.
Backboard doesn't work with this.
What do you have HDMI?
Yeah. No.
And this one.
That doesn't work on this laptop.
Hey Derek, she needs a different dongle for this laptop.
No, it's special. It has HBC.
We'll get there, guys. We promise. Yeah. So you can read through that yourself and kind of see what's going on there. But just wanted to throw any questions so far of the presentation and of the things that we've talked about. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, to Newark. So what we do is we have there's a church in northern Lebanon where we all park, and then our bus will take us all from there to Newark, New Jersey Airport. Yeah, we leave from there. Yeah. I think we charge $20. Yeah, in addition for just to get to Newark for the bus. Yeah. Yeah. And then we're together the entire time that we're there for those 12 days. There is one free day in Jerusalem. We built that in starting a couple tours ago. And what's really nice about that is it's a whole day in Jerusalem where it's unscheduled. So you have the freedom to go explore or walk the city yourself or go to different locations. There's a walking tour around Jerusalem walls. There's hundreds of shops all over the place. There are all types of different things that you can see in and around Jerusalem. We pick a hotel that's within walking distance of the old city, and so you can spend time doing that. We also will be in Jerusalem on Friday night, the start of Sabbath there. So to see the activities that happen at the Wailing Wall on the Sabbath is really special. It gives you really good insights into the culture and all that was going on, all that goes on for Sabbath there, because the country kind of shuts down on Sabbath except for the religious activities that are going on there. So the bottom right corner there is the cost of the tour, the main tour, $48.09. That includes the airfare. If that is an estimated price on airfare, and they estimated slightly high on that because it's hard to know what it is 18 months in advance or whatever, 15 months I guess we are now. But if it's cheaper than that, of course, then that price reduction is passed on to you as well. And then the price of the extension, there's $849. The extension is the Jordan trip. And typically about half of the people end up going, maybe slightly more, end up on the Jordan tour. And I'd encourage you, if you are considering going to Israel, think hard about the Jordan tour as well, because there's quite a bit there that to see that you may not get another chance to see unless you go again sometime. If you flip over to the back of the brochure, all the information that you need primarily for registering and then talking about insurance and cancellation, that's all there. I'd encourage you to read through that. The date that I wanted to show you or point out is at the very top left corner. To register, the registration you need to register by June 1st. So we have quite a bit of time to do that. And to register, you need to put $300 down to secure your registration. Now, I would encourage you to do that sooner. We're expecting this to be a large tour from the church. There's quite a bit of interest. And there's some other churches people that are contacting us from other churches as well. So we want to keep the tour size to one full tour size bus. We don't want to do two, and the reason is because the tour guide, it's such a special time having the tour guide on our bus speaking that if you were on another bus and not hearing them, and that you would miss out on an awful lot. The second piece of that is the manageability of a tour of a bus in places that were not built for tour buses. So the more people you have, it takes longer to get in and out of locations, and so we want to keep it to one bus. So that can be 40, 50 people, which is fine, and we'll do that. So I encourage you to register early there. Again, what's included in that is the airfare, and what you need to do is register on the website and have your passport, etc. Information about the passport: your passport needs to be valid for 6 months post the last day you're in Israel, if that makes sense. So if it expires within a month after you get back, you need to have applied and get a new passport for that. So that's a very important thing to look at now at this point. Any questions about the brochure? This will be on our website as well. You can download it. Connie? So single supplement means that you would like to have your own room at a hotel. Otherwise, it's based on double occupancy. So if you want your own space the entire time, then that's the cost for it. Yeah. I don't think you have to have a passport to register now. Yeah. No.
But they will ask you for a picture of your passport well in advance to verify the travel agency will.
Yeah. Derek, can you put Ketsy's mic on then? He might have to turn you on up there. But yeah, there probably is one that you have to turn on. Other questions about the brochure or just the logistical pieces? We're going to show you a whole bunch of slides about the trip. Ketsy and Robin were on our most recent trip. They had a great time. We had a great time because they were there as well. So they're going to talk about their experience on the trip. There's quite a few people that have been there already. Mike in the back was on our group as well. So any of the questions about the brochure? Again, as you read it, you have more questions, please reach out to us, reach out to Ginger. We'll get you the information that you need. I'd encourage you to. In 2017, when I went the first time, I took my son, who was a 19-year-old at the time, and it was an amazing experience for me as a dad to be able to do that with my son. So something to consider if you have an adult child or a child old enough to enjoy that, consider taking them. It was impactful for him and impactful for me. My son said, "Dad, I heard the stories about Mount Carmel, but I just kind of felt they were always stories until he stood on Mount Carmel, and then he could appreciate the stories of Elijah and the prophets of Baal and all that happens." And that's kind of the effect of what happens when you're there. It's an aha moment, like, wow, this is a real place. And so I encourage you to think about bringing kids along or adult children. So, hey, let's start with some slides. Derek, if we can do that. Ketsy, are we connected and ready? Yeah. All right. Everyone, this is Ketsy and Robin. There you go. Just press that button right there. Oh, hold it in until it turns red. There you go. Okay. Are they both on, Derek?
Hello. Are we live? I'll stay over here. Is anybody watching us on live stream? I just have to, okay. Just kidding. Okay. Do we want to start? Oh, Robin's not on yet. She's red, but she's not on. She just needs to be louder. Maybe you should take my mic. I'm pretty loud.
Derek, I'll give you mine.
Wait a second. Thank you. We have a time limit for slides. I have 1,000. Oh. It took me more than 2 minutes to get it done.
I think I'm good.
Oh, you can.
Okay. You know what? Can I just hold it like this for a second? Oh.
It's like, no. No, it's bent the right way. Yeah.
You can... Now. Okay, good.
Oh, and you can't stand in front of the microphone screen.
Okay.
Back feet. Just back.
Oh, okay.
Stay right there. So you'll get back from me.
Well, everybody, Ketsy and I met each other on the Israel trip. We became fast friends. And so Ketsy's going to do most of the narration, but I just wanted to give a quiz to everybody to see if you might be good candidates to come on the trip. Is that okay? So raise your hand if you're a history lover. Perfect. Raise your hand if you like adventure. Awesome. What about good weather? Oh, perfect. Especially in the winter. Pastor Tom might talk about that. And what about, raise your hand if you like fresh and delicious food. And do you appreciate good accommodations? And do you want to see the Bible come to life? Okay, perfect. Do you love Jesus and want to be with other people who love him too? Perfect. Do you want to hear good Bible teaching? Awesome. And do you want to see archaeological evidence of the Bible? You all should sign up. You are qualified to come.
Is Ronnie going to be the tour guide? Yeah. Okay, very good. I have to make sure. Okay. Forward, back.
This has to go in your laptop.
Oh.
Does something have to go in there?
There's not a...
If not, I can hit the forward and back button. That's not a problem. Okay, let's switch sides so we don't get each other. Okay, so we are going to get some slides. So the great thing about this slideshow is that, God forbid, you decide to go and you can't, you're going to go today by virtue of my slides. Because I was the one that took over 1,000 pictures with my selfie stick. So I apologize, some of the pictures have my face, they have Robin's face, they have our wonderful pastors' faces, but you'll really enjoy it. So this is just a picture of Israel, so I will go into more detail of Jerusalem. So just to start off, I want to kind of give you guys, I'm sure Pastor Dwayne talked about this, so I apologize, show me some grace, I came a little late. So what to expect when you're going from Newark to Tel Aviv, and I think he mentioned some, but I wanted to put on here, note the long flight, okay? So very long flight, I recommend taking a book, compression socks. The big thing was make sure you're standing up on the plane. Do not sit that entire time. Your feet will swell. It'll be very uncomfortable. Wear loose clothing, take a neck pillow, try to sleep as much as you can. Make sure you stand up and stretch for at least 5 to 10 minutes. Again, this will pay dividends in the end because once you're off the plane, I guess depending on the itinerary, it may be different, but we start the trip. And so you want to make sure that you've rested essentially. So I added some there I just felt like I should put on there. So Central PA, right? I grew up here in Lebanon County. Originally from New York City, from Brooklyn, so I was very accustomed to seeing Hasidic Jews growing up because we went back to Brooklyn for most of my life until I became a little bit older. If you are not familiar with seeing Hasidic Jews, I would say probably maybe like look it up, kind of get familiar, because what we experienced on the flight over there, so from Newark to Tel Aviv, there were a lot of Hasidic families, like almost 70% of the plane, I would say, easily. So I think just for like the culture shock, like maybe if they came to Central PA and saw a bunch of Amish folks, or, you know, they'd be like kind of staring and figuring it out. So just so you don't have like that stare effect on you initially, and you kind of look and then look again, and then look a couple times, just kind of get familiar to what a Hasidic Jew looks like, so it's not something that it's kind of like, oh, first time ever seeing that. If you don't eat kosher meals, you will eat last, so just keep that in mind. So pack snacks, because they will give everybody on the plane kosher meals first, and then they'll collect the meals, and then we get to eat. So unless you eat kosher, you will be eating towards the end. And that was very important for me because I like food, so I was waiting for everyone. But the good thing is the flights do have TVs, movies, games, TV shows. So it wasn't a boring flight. I would just recommend trying to get sleep because, again, once you get there, we start moving. So that's actually a picture of what the plane looks like. So you have a little bit of leg room and some space, but the good thing is the headrest, it was comfortable. So it just kind of gives you an idea. Okay, and then we'll go right in. So this is a Bedouin community. So this was on our ride from Israel to Jordan. So on our trip, we went to Jordan first and then Israel. So this was just a Bedouin community that we found as we were driving towards the bridge. Are these bright enough? Are you sure? Okay. Okay. Does it? Okay, good. You're going to cross the Allenby Bridge, so this is just kind of a picture of showing you where we crossed from Israel into Jordan. And then when we got to Jordan, so if you are following here, this would probably be easy. We went to Mount Nebo. So what I tried to do on this slideshow was give you a first picture of where we were and then a sequence of photos after that. And Robin's going to chime in whenever she wants. Okay. This is a monument of the Book of Love Among Nations. And so if you kind of look at it, it looks like a book with pages in the middle. And you get to see this when you first walk into Mount Nebo. So I just thought that was a cool little thing. And then you can read up there what the monument stands for. This was what I said was just a big round stone, but then I had to do some research on it. So a rolling stone used as a door to the Byzantine monastery at Mount Nebo in Jordan. So there's a cool picture of that. So I put this picture on here. This is showing you Moses Spring, so it could probably be a little bit clearer, but from that point of view, you're going to look over and see basically what Moses saw as far as the springs. And then that's the view. Okay, so that is actually, so let me go back, I apologize. So that's the view of the springs. And then the next picture, so standing there looking out would have been what Moses saw as far as the promised land that he couldn't go to see. So that's the view there, the view of the Holy Land. The Brazen Serpent Monument. And we took a cool picture there. And then there is a memorial of Moses. So the next pictures, you'll see a bunch of mosaic tiles on the floor and on the walls. And I didn't have a picture of it without me in it, so I apologize. That was me. And then there's kind of a collage of what you saw inside. So all these pictures here that you're seeing are mosaic tiles. So they're like little tiles made into these beautiful pictures. This is right, Pastor Tom? Okay. All right. This is where John the Baptist was beheaded. So if you could imagine something being there, at the top of that was where our tour guide led us to see that. And then after Mount Nebo, we went to Petra. So next are going to be the Petra Mountains and Caves, which was really a treat. Petra was great in Jordan. And that is a view from our hotel. The Petra Hotel was also one of the most amazing ones ever. The selfie stick saved the day. So we got a picture next to I Love Petra. So that was our Jordan group. So how many were?
I think there were 15 or so.
Okay, yeah, there was some of us, and then we went with our Jordan group afterwards. So that's just us saying hi. Oh, so some things for Petra you'll notice, we all are wearing like lots of layers because in the morning it was cold. But as I go through the slides, you'll start to see that we slowly started stripping of clothes because it got very hot as we were walking. So my plug for Petra is if you decide to do the extension for Petra, there is a lot of walking. I'll repeat that. There is a lot of walking, like 26,000 steps at least of walking if you go to Petra. But it's really cool. So these are all the caves. Pastor Tom or Pastor Dwayne will give a teaching here, and this is where the Bible says that the Jews will go to escape, right? And they will hide, and you'll see why in more pictures as we go through, how miraculously they'll hide in these caves. So you can see where that would happen. And then you'll see our group. So some of our folks in pictures here. You see the elephant over to the right. And then you get to see this awesome, I don't really remember what it was called though. The temple, okay. But we saw another temple, right? I think this is the treasure. Okay.
And if you've never been to a wonder of the world, this is one of them. In fact, it's the second one, and we learned that it's considered the second one based on they have ratings where people rate the wonders of the world. So the first one is the Great Wall of China, and this one is the second from an audience poll. It's worth going to. It really is.
And you can ride a camel or a donkey. So these pictures are to get to the temple. So this is we start at the very bottom, and we were slowly walking and taking these steps up to the temple. This is, I would recommend this for avid climbers and folks that are really in decent. To the temple? There was 1, 2,
6.
4.
Oh.
Oh, wait, me, Pat, the pastor, and just, yeah. So 6 of us, yeah, six of us.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's the temple. So you get to the very top, and that's what you get to see up there. And that's just kind of a picture of the main trail. I can share these slides too, just so folks can see if they like. And then once Petra was done, we came back. So we did not get to see one of these sites, right? We got caught up in time. Rest, yes. So then we picked up our folks in Israel, right out of Tel Aviv, and our first spot was Caesarea National Park. And there's the amphitheater. That is the view, so looking out to the harbor. There's an inscription on here about Pontius Pilate. There's a closer view of the harbor. This is where they would go to the bathroom. So that's why we had that photo. I thought that's kind of funny because he was sitting there and we were wondering why, and then he told us. So. This is showing where the chariot races were. So if you ever seen the movie Ben-Hur, this is where they would have raced. That's where the court would be, right? The audience, yes. And then that special area was kind of like this, yeah, the special court. So I took a picture of this because I circled Caesar Augustus's church was over there. Mount Carmel. So it's not an actual like one place. That was one thing our tour guides wanted to remind us. When we think of Mount Carmel or Mount of Olives, it's not like a place. It's a mountain range. So this is the mountain range of Mount Carmel. I caught the Crocodile River, so you'll hear about that with Ronnie. Or no, not Ronnie. Who was our first tour guide? George. Oh, it'll be Ronnie. Would it be Ronnie? Okay. Oh, that's right. He's doing this. Okay. Hills of Manasseh. That is Elijah's monastery. Then we went sanctuary and monastery. This was is that on top of Mount Carmel? Okay. Yes. Yes, this is when we were on top of Mount Carmel. Yes. Yes. The Jezreel Mountain? Jezreel Valley, okay. Oh, I got that on the next slide. There we go. I was like, I think it's coming. So we got pictures there. These were tombs around, on the side of the road, so we actually got to see real-life tombs. So then next we went to Megiddo Park. That is a picture of what it would have been in the city gate. And that's going into the city gate. So from that picture, that kind of gives you a better idea. This is one of the entrances. These were the northern stables. I know it looks like a lot of rocks, but when you're there, it's really cool too. So. That's the water system. So we walked down the water system. Kind of gives you an idea of the hole that we all went down into. There was still a little bit of water there. It's kind of green. District town in Jesus' time. That's where Jesus turned water into wine in his first miracle. So again, mountain ranges. Then we went to Magdala, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? This is the synagogue. This was one of the first synagogues Jesus taught at. Was that right? Or he did teach there? Yes, he taught there. Yes. Okay. That's the fish factory. I'm sure you can see all the fish. That wall was there to protect the synagogue. So as they were talking, I tried to take pictures and then type in the text box so I wouldn't forget. That is the harbor in Jesus' time. We had a service here, so there was a church there, yes? Okay, so this is where we had a service, and it was a beautiful picture, so we all took a picture of that, and then we went upstairs and we sang. And the boat is the altar at this church, is what we were told. And then we went to Peter's primacy. I like that sculpture, but I can't remember what it was. But it's nice. It says something on there. Okay. So there's more mountain ranges there. So one of the things we were told were the caves acted as an amplifier. So when Jesus spoke, more than likely, George had said he would have spoken like around a cave or something that would have amplified his voice out. So I thought that was pretty cool. Modern day mics. We couldn't see this, but we could hear the water. So there are springs there, and you can hear the running water. You can't see it, but that's where Job came to bathe. And then we went to Capernaum. And Jordani has the same picture on his video, which is pretty cool. Okay, so this is Peter's house, and on top of it is a church. And I was lucky enough to sneak in there right before Mass started. So I was able to get some pictures, but this is actually Peter's house underneath the church. And then inside of the church, there is glass where you can look down while you're inside. So that's from the church view. So right in the center of the church, you can look down into Peter's house. And this is another synagogue. And Jesus also taught in this one, yes? Or one that would have been, yeah. There's our beautiful group, some of them. Let's give the pictures. And we had an inscription here. So from here, we went to the Sea of Galilee. And so we had amazing weather, but this is basically what the Sea of Galilee would look like while you're on the boat. You get to see the nice mountain range. The top left is the boat. 4 gorgeous models there in the other picture. And then our group over here while we were on the boat. And then we went into the museum, and this is the boat from the time of Jesus, is what they're saying that they restored. So this was really awesome because we got to see a video, and there's a bunch of pictures that go with this museum where you can actually walk through how they excavated it and how they restored it, or I shouldn't even say restored it, but how they kept it restored to its current condition. And this was our baptism site, so this was also an amazing piece. Did you talk about the baptism site, Pastor Roy?
We did not yet.
Oh, okay. Are you going to talk about it? I'll let you talk about it. Okay. Okay. So this is our baptism site, and here's one of the trees that's dedicated to Pastor Chuck, so that Calvary is one of the groups that can get baptized here. Our baptism site is really awesome. I'm going to show you also the location where they say that Jesus got baptized, and you're going to see a big difference in water color. You're going to love to get baptized here. So that was our group, and then of course that's our pastors up top. This was a national park. Okay, so these are a little bit just pictures of the Golden Heights up top, Mount Hermon, and then the River Dan. This is as we were going up to Dan. And this is when we are there. Yep. can't even see why am I looking there. Tel Dan, yep. This is Tel Dan Natural Reserve. So what do I write on there? It says the start of River Jordan, and Jordan means flowing from Dan. Ronnie would be so proud. He needs to see this. This was an artifact from King Jeroboam's time. Infant altar, yes. Yep. Oh, there you go, yep. And so they were currently excavating the site. They weren't doing it while we were there, but you could see that excavation had begun, so. And then this is a panoramic view. So what you see there, the mountain range, that's all of Lebanon. Or in there, over there, it's Lebanon, not Lebanon. But that gives you kind of, from left to right, I put the pictures together so you see the mountain range. God bless you. Those are the slopes of Mount Hermon. This was a treat that we got to see the gates of, and I don't know how to say that. Oh, it's Abraham's gates. Okay, there you go. What is this? Temple of Pan. Okay, this is when we went up to the Temple of Pan, and you get to see the Gate of Dan up to the right. I think water came out through that big hole, right? Is it? Okay. The Palace of Agrippa. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Here.
Yes.
Derek, can I go on the...
I'll turn myself off. Oh, okay.
So that, where Caesarea Philippi, that's where Jesus said, made the quotes in the gates of hell, she will not prevail against it. That cave there historically was known as the gates of hell. So he's talking about the demonic presence and in that story. So this was one of the major centers of pagan worship for the Romans and the Greeks in Israel. So there's lots going on here. Yeah, it's a beautiful site with lots of engravings and things that you can see.
Then we went towards Nimrod's castle. That's it up the top. So that's a far view, and then this is a view as we're getting closer. And then there's some cool pictures in there of the castle. We can see Golden Heights from there, Mount Hermon Bridge. The picture to the right, that slit, is where they would, they would throw oil through there, actually. And in Jerusalem, we got to see that in the Jerusalem wall, too. And then there's a cistern of water and a basin and just some other cool pictures.
This is built by the Crusaders.
Yes, yes. That's the... Oh yes, Ronnie told us that. The Crusaders sent by the Pope, and it was all about money. Said Ronnie. I'm going to say said Ronnie just in case. This is the Golden Heights. So this is where the 7-day war occurred, and we were at the very top, so you'll see, this is basically the bunkers and where they were shooting from during the war. So the first time, they will show you we were 1165 above sea level, and then we walked all of this, and these were just cool pictures. At the very top, it was where the Israeli military forces in Golden Heights were. So there were actually Israeli forces there, because we saw trucks driving back and forth. And then up to the top right, you'll see that was the view to Syria. Then we went to Nazareth Village. So we didn't get to go to Nazareth, but we went to a reenaction that the YMCA has, right, of the Nazareth Village. It is Nazareth? Okay, oh, okay. And they had a Christmas tree. So they love Christmas. So these are just kind of pictures walking you through. The top is the an olive tree, a very old olive tree. And then the next picture was of what how they lived would be. So I don't want to call it a shack, but it's like a little home. And then you see the threshing floor was there. To the right, that would be their crops. We had the threshing board. a vineyard, a watchtower. This was a good little site. A first century wine press up at the top left. And then we actually went into an area where there was a wine press, where there was the wine crusher on a wheel, and so a donkey would probably be walking around in a circle. The folks down at the bottom left, while we were there, were planting and talking, just like a regular day, basically, what it would have been like. And this shows you the homes, for instance. Top right is a kitchen. I think you can see that in the writing. And then the groom's home. Then we walked into a synagogue. And there was a gentleman waiting for us over there on the left who really scared us because he started singing as we walked in. He had a really good voice. So he stood there and basically told us how a teaching would happen. And then the picture on the right is where the scrolls would have been kept. And then we went to Bet Shean, and one of the things Ronnie will talk about is a tell, which is just basically a city built on a city built on a city. So it's a bunch of layers of dirt and rock on each other. So you get to see that there. The eastern entrance is to Megiddo, where the Battle of Armageddon, right? Yes, okay. And then to the right is a coin, I want to say that's Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I think it is.
Yeah. It's Ronnie's coin. You'll get to see it when you're there. And you won't move until he gets it back. So this is another amphitheater. This is where the Romans took hot baths. So this was their sauna area. One of the things Ronnie said to us was that the Romans were about the day. They really enjoyed the day, and they took a lot of luxury of that day. So I guess if you've ever watched movies with Romans and they're in the hot springs and showers, that's where that would happen. This is a picture of what you're basically looking at, the ruins of. And then if you ever saw the movie, is it Jesus Superstar? Jesus Christ Superstar, that's where it was filmed, that top right. That is the actual site. Yes. I've never seen the movie, I should see it. Okay. Next stop was, okay, so this is on the left-hand side. This is the site where a lot of folks believe that Jesus was actually baptized. So you can see the water quality. And the interesting part about that was on the other side, there were Jordanian horses making sure nobody was going to cross over. And then that's a picture of Jordan up top. Jordan is very brown, so I have been at Iraq a few times, and it's very similar to that. So not a lot of vegetation, very desert looking. You'll see a huge difference when you cross from Jordan to Israel almost immediately. The picture with the sun on is headed towards Mossad. That is the West Bank Mountains. This is the Salt Sea, not the Dead Sea, because it's not dead, it's very much alive, says everyone in Israel. So get used to saying the Salt Sea, not the Dead Sea. That is a picture from the hotel, so that was also a very nice hotel as well, to Robin's point. And then this is how we were heading up to Mossad on a little tram cart. Storerooms to the right here. This is a replica of what it would have looked like. The top picture is actual stones and mosaic, like the flooring. We were told, so I put all these pictures on here. If you kind of see in the pictures where there's boxes and the dirt's been moved up into a square, those were the Roman camps. You'll see the breaching point here. It reflects to what's up top. That was the synagogue, the last two pillars there. And then to the right, I believe that's a church. Yes, the Byzantine church. This is En-Gedi, so we walked through the rocks to a beautiful site, a waterfall. And that's some of the pictures you'll see on your hike up. That was very crowded. And then the waterfall there up to the right.
It's proposed that's where David hid out when he was running from Saul.
Yes,
That made it a likely.
a likelihood. Then we went to Qumran. And this is said where the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. And you'll see the caves there. And then we were lucky enough that we just so happened to get a picture of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's actually the Dead Sea Scrolls. So that's a good thing to mention. In all of the museums, photography is not allowed. So I don't know what happened there. The camera just went off by itself. So there's a couple pictures where you'll see Jericho. We didn't get to see Jericho, but we saw it from a distance. The Judean wilderness, which Jesus was tempted. And then we headed toward Jerusalem. So this picture is as you're coming through the tunnel into Jerusalem. The tradition is that they play the national anthem while you're coming into Jerusalem, which was really cool. And this happened to be the sunset that we saw coming into Jerusalem. Here's the Damascus Herod Gate, and that was our first night. So we got there late, but we all had to go see the wall. So we went at night and got some pictures. Okay. Here, this is the Golden Gate. You'll notice because it has the two arches when you get there. It'll be right in front of the Church of Nations when you see it. To the bottom, you'll see Mount Moriah, again, a mountain range, not one specific spot. The pinnacle of the temple is that black mark that I have like this on the corner. So it's basically the corner. So behind the Church of Nations is Mount Olives, and this is the Church of Nations. So if we do the same itinerary, we'll go to the Church of Nations and then to Gethsemane. And so this is the garden. And so we had a service here. We had some time to reflect, which was really awesome. There's a really great presence there when you're praying, and you've got to be there to feel it. So we'll see you guys there. So then this is a picture while we were standing out looking into the city. And the pictures that you see here it's basically the road that Jesus would have taken on Palm Sunday from, where did he come from behind us? Yes, from Bethany into Jerusalem. So we actually did the walk down. In between, as you're walking, the city and the mountain range is where they have their cemetery. So the cemetery is outside of the city walls, and that's what you see in the center. And then we got to walk underground along the western wall, and it's the secret passage. And so you get to watch a video, but basically it shows how everything happened. So you have Mount Moriah, again, the mountain range. Then you have the Temple Mount was built, then the temple, and then you see the city on the right-hand side, outside, or I should say the city outside of the walls. And then where Ronnie is pointing is where we are standing. And so this will just walk you through some of these photos. It's just a tunnel, and on the right-hand side is the wall, and on the left-hand side, some people live there, is what we were told. It's the city, so we were told that it is the city. So it banks up against there. I don't remember what the bullseye was for, but it was something very important. You'll just have to wait and see. That kind of gives you an idea of how it looks, how the tunnel looks on the left-hand side. And then paving from the second temple period was there. This is the Zion Gate, so you'll see it's just covered in holes, and those are bullets from the Six-Day War in 1967. There's an awesome guy over there on the right. He's just so happy to be our tour guide. That's you, Pastor. Yeah. This was the museum, so this was really great. This was a recreation that we were able to see. Again, the pinnacle of the temple. And then this is when we went into the city. So this is, it's said to be, it's the room of the Last Supper. That's what Ron said. So that's the pictures there. This is said to be the site of Caiaphas, the house of Caiaphas, which is where we went. You'll see their first century flight of stairs, which are basically stones. And then a couple of Christian pictures on the right. And then this was said to be at the very bottom point where Jesus would have been his last day, yes? In the dungeon, yes. Yep. So we all walk down to the bottom, and you'll see that. This is the valley where David killed Goliath. This is the seed that Paul would have ate, right? That too. I think it says it said, oh no, John the Baptist ate this seed, is what Ronnie had told us. That's the tree and that's the seed that comes from it, and that would have been what he would have ate. So there we were picking rocks, and we did a reenactment there. That was really awesome. And then we went walking at night. You can see we found the I Love Jerusalem sign, so we had to take a picture. This is Shiloh. And we got some pieces of clay from here. I still have some. So that'll show you the altar. Again, I didn't have a picture of the altar without me in it, so I apologize. Gives you an idea of Shiloh. This is Praetorium.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, if you've ever seen Passion of the Christ, this is where the Romans, this is the courtyard, right, where the Romans would have, correct, the execution orders happen, yes. Like on that very ground, right? There's something very heavy of being in there, by the way. Just wanted to add that. We had a great teaching, but there was definitely something very heavy. This is the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. So Pat and I actually went super early in the morning because this is really packed. So on your day off or before anything happens, we woke up at 5 and we got here at 6, like right as the priests were opening it. So we did have to wait till Mass was over, but you can see that no one's here. That's not what it really looks like. By 7 o'clock, it's packed. So if you want to see this in a quiet time, get there early. The picture here is thought to be where they prepared Jesus' body. So this is a Catholic site. Let me just add that real quick. So this will be heavily on Catholic tradition and paintings and pictures, but that's where they believe, the Catholics believe that Jesus' body was prepared. The picture down to the right at the bottom is where they believe that Jesus was crucified. So there's actually like an altar there, and that little box area, people will kneel down and touch down into the rock that's there, and that's where they believe that Jesus was crucified. That's what they believe. And then this is where they believe that this is the tomb. So they have a huge church kind of set out. The first room here, the dark room, you walk into first. And then on the right-hand side, that is what they believe is Jesus' tomb, where Jesus is buried. Or was buried, I'm sorry, during that time, yes. Here was the Bethesda pool. And there's pools, so there's more than one. And there was a church. Then we went to the city of David. And we went down Warren Shaft. And then we went to Temple Mount. I'll leave this for when they get there. This was really good. And then Hezekiah's tunnel, which was so much fun. Oh, and just to add, because I'd be doing a disservice, Hezekiah's tunnel is pretty tight in certain areas. But I hear the dry tunnel was very tight as well. And so some people who were claustrophobic actually had a difficult time in the tight tunnel, or in the dry tunnel. So if you see up top, that was probably the highest that it got, probably about mid-thigh, mid-thigh. So there was times where it was just at our toesies, and then there was times it came up about mid-thigh. The big thing here is you'll see Pat, so I think Pat's about 5'8", 5'9". There was a good bit of walking where Pat was hunched over. So if you are tall, just prepare to walk a little hunched over, because it's not, there's some areas that are a lot shallow, and then there are other areas where it's super, super high. And that gives you a kind of idea of, if you turn off your light, you're not going to see anybody, but you can get really cool pictures with the light behind you. And then we had a study by the pool of Shiloh, so as you're coming out, there's a pool right here, and then we sat and had service. The picture of us in the center are the southern steps. This was the garden tomb, where Christians, Protestants believe that this is the site where Christ would have been hung for people to see while they were coming in, and then where he would have been buried. And this was Peter, our guide. He was great. And so you'll see the top pictures are the actual tomb, or what is thought to be the tomb. And then we had communion, and that was it. I didn't put pictures of our day in Jerusalem. I have lots of those, but we'll let you guys see that on your own. So, okay. Robin?
Oh, good job. There are so many pictures. There are so many things that you didn't see as well. I would just note that in this whole trip, you meet so many wonderful people, and you have such great conversations and hear such great teachings. And those are just really things that, talking about them, you'd never fully understand until you experienced it yourself. So it really is a trip worth it. And you'll get your own pictures. I took a lot of pictures of the food and the hotel and people. So Ketsi got all the sites. So thanks.
One second. Thank you guys for that. This is being recorded, so if you have people if you know people that are interested, you can refer this presentation to them tonight with the slides as well. A couple of things that I wanted to add to that. One thing about the hotels is the hotels provide a very large buffet breakfast and dinner, and that's included in the tour cost. And then we're responsible for all but 2 of the days where they provide, we're responsible for lunch, to get lunch as the tour goes throughout wherever it's at. They'll stop for lunch, or about half of the people that were on the tour ended up packing lunches or taking snacks along, enough to eat to get them through the day. So that's part of it. And I'd recommend, just bring power bars and that type of thing. That certainly helps get through the day. Robin or Ketsi had mentioned the baptism. One of the sites is a place where we go towards the end of our time in Galilee, where you can be baptized in the Jordan River. And it's a site that, as Ketsi has said, Pastor Chuck from Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa, he had helped get that land and developed and made it into a large baptism. And it's absolutely beautiful. The water is clean, but it is cold. And it is December, but the water is cold, so it's a meaningful thing. They provide robes and towels for you, and they'll even sell you a video of yourself being baptized if you so wish to purchase it from there as well. Another thing that I wanted to mention, the Temple Mount, we put that on the tour. We have every intention of going there, but there has been a time where the tour group has not been able to go up onto the Temple Mount just based on whatever is happening that day. So we trust Ronnie, our tour guide, to pick the time and day to get there, but it may not. It's not a guarantee that you'll be able to get up on the Temple Mount, but the 2 times that I've gone, we've been able to do that, to get up on the Temple Mount. It just kind of depends on what's going on the day there. And I wanted to talk about safety in Jerusalem, and there's a handout for that. I believe. Thank you. It says, will I be safe in the Holy Lands? And you can read through that yourself. But one of the things that's very telling about how safe Jerusalem really is that they really encourage people to, at night, go out walking. You can just go out walking in Jerusalem and walk all through Jerusalem, old city, new city, any of the area. And again, we intentionally get a hotel within walking distance of the old walls, and we encourage people to do that. Of course, go in groups if you feel more comfortable doing that. Some went out individually, but overall, it's a safe. They say that you're more safe walking in Jerusalem at night than you would be in other cities of the United States. We've never had an incident. We don't know of incidents. The Department of Tourism says that they've never lost a tourist. In all the years, and I don't know how many millions ago a year. Do you remember? Millions of tourists. It's in the millions. It's a very safe time to go. What you see on the news about Jerusalem is often propaganda. And if you see them burning tires, it's often old footage that they filmed somewhere. And oftentimes, Ronnie says that if you want to, what was his quote? If you want to, CNN would pay people to start fires and burn tires so that they had things to film. But we were there the night that Trump had announced that Jerusalem would be the capital, and we were walking around. Like the things that they showed on CNN here, none of that was happening there. So they make it look like it's an unsafe place, but really it's not and has not been. Our tour guide, again, is very connected to whatever's going on around us, and make sure that we're always in areas that are safe, and we've never had any problem at all. Tom, did you want to add anything about safety, or?
I will.
Okay, when you come, yeah. Actually, if you want to come up.
Should I do that now?
Yeah, come
Okay.
on up now, yeah. And then we'll wrap up here in about 15 minutes. Get you out of here.
Have these couple things. Yeah. So, I was asked to talk a little bit about the Jordan extension, and we go to Macris, and Macris, you saw the picture. Macris is the place where John the Baptist was beheaded. It was one of Herod's palaces in Jordan, and it's spectacular. I mean, we don't go to the site, but we go close to it, and you can see it in the distance. And some of its significance is, if you know anything about Masada, Masada was the last holdout. It's where the Jews held out, and the Romans hated that they could not beat the Jews, and this was the last stand, was Masada. But before Masada fell, the place before Masada was Machaerus. Same thing, well fortified. And so the Jews held out, but at the end they capitulated. They surrendered. And the Jews that were in Masada were so incensed at their surrendering to the Romans that it helped them determine they are never going to surrender. So that's one of the interesting points about Machaerus. Mount Nebo, you really have to see Mount Nebo. It's where Moses stood, where God said, Moses, you can't go into the promised land, but you can see it. And they believe that Mount Nebo is the mountain that he went to the top of and looked in and then died there on Mount Nebo. We go to Jerash, which is known as the Pompeii of the East. It is supposed to be outside of Italy. It is the largest number of ruins anywhere in the world. Roman era, Greco-Roman, Greco era. There's a temple to Artemis, a well-preserved temple Temple of Artemis, which is Diana. If you remember, greatest Diana of the Ephesians, it was not that temple, but a temple. And then we go to Petra. I was told, only about 3% of Christians that go to Israel go to Petra. And the reason is there are not a lot of Christians left that still believe in end times prophecy, because Petra is where most believe, many evangelical believers, based on Scripture, believe that the Jews will be taken for the last 3.5 years of the tribulation, the 7 years of tribulation. And they'll be hidden there, protected there by God. That happens in Petra. And that's found in Revelation 12 and Isaiah 16, those references to that. So when you're there, you're actually looking at a future event. It's stunning. Jordan itself is a cultural experience. You know, I tell people, for the small extra amount of money, you've already paid the money to fly there. It really is worthwhile going. And something really cool this year, just to make one thing clear, is we are flying direct from Newark to Tel Aviv. So we used to have to go through Heathrow, through London, and sometimes we'd have 10-hour layovers in Heathrow. So it is so nice taking a direct flight. But what's really cool about this year, for the first time ever, we're going to be going to, we usually go to Jerusalem, go to Israel first, and then to Jordan. We're doing that this year, but we always came back into Jerusalem, into Israel, and then flew out of Tel Aviv again. This time we're going to fly out of Amman, Jordan. So there's no crossing back across the border, which is almost a half-day event. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah. Think about that. And we drove past. In fact, we dropped our one tour guide off at the Amman airport one time. It is a beautiful airport. So that really streamlines the whole trip. So that's, and then also I was asked to talk a little bit about Ronnie. Ronnie Simon has been doing tour guiding for probably 30 years. I think I have part of, yeah, here it is. Ronnie Simon is an Israeli historian and licensed tour guide who lives and works in Israel. He's written, I think, 4 books. Yeah, he's written and published 4 books on, one is on the kings of Israel, one is on the land of Israel. He was a colonel?
I believe so.
Lieutenant colonel in the IDF, and is very politically connected. One year we were not able to get, Ronnie was voted twice the #1 tour guide in Israel by the guides themselves. And there are a lot of guides. I asked him one time, there are a lot of guides. he was voted the top guide by the guides themselves. He is phenomenal. And what's really neat about Ronnie is he doesn't take a politically correct position on anything. He tells you how he feels. And the year we went where we did not have Ronnie, I would ask him on the bus, he had the microphone, I would say, so how do the people feel about the President and Prime Minister? They like him very much. How do the Reformed Jews feel about the Hasidic, the Orthodox Jews, that they don't have to work and still get paid? They don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, all the politically right answers. You get Ronnie in those questions, he just goes off. I mean, he tells you, I've said, if you ever visit someplace, the best thing you can do is live in somebody's home, right? Because they tell you the culture, what's going on. You will feel like you're in Ronnie's living room when he's on the bus talking. And that's why we only want to take one bus, because it would be a travesty for people not to be able to hear Ronnie talk on the bus. Our guide on the bus didn't say anything. I had to prompt him for questions, and he turned away from me because he didn't want to work on the bus. And Ronnie's talking all the time. I'm serious. Ronnie is worth half of the trip. Is that fair?
Very fair.
He is an amazing guide. And also, one of the reasons we go in December, you may think that's not a good time to go. The average temperature in Israel in December is 60. The average temperature in Israel in June is 183 degrees. It is hot in Israel in even the late spring, and during the summer it's brutal. The other thing about going in December is it's low season. They get better deals in the hotels. That's translated into your fee. The other thing is, I don't know why they didn't think of this, but when Jesus did all this 2,000 years ago, he never thought about the width of the streets. He didn't think that someday there are going to be tour buses coming and they need wider streets. And so, because so many people take tours in Israel, the streets get jammed up, the cities get jammed up, and when I've gone, when it's high season, when it's busy, the bus will pull in, the tour guide will see that there are already 20 buses. He'll talk to the bus driver, and they pull out and go to another site. And so you get to see many fewer sites just because the queues are longer, the lines are longer, and when you get into one of those rooms, instead of it being your group, there are 5 groups, and all the guides talking at the same time. Something that's really cool is we have what's called whispers, which is a little headpiece that you wear. You keep it with you all the time. He'll tell you when to turn it on, when to turn it off. But then the guide, Ronnie, will speak through a microphone, and you'll hear him speaking through your earpiece, which is really nice, because if you go into museums and things, you may want to be looking at pictures on the wall, and you don't want to hang real close to him to try to hear what he has to say. So that is really a great advantage. And I want to highlight, too, the overnight in Jerusalem, the Saturday night in Jerusalem. I'm telling you, that is a highlight. Of all of our tours, I think we've only ever done that twice. But you get to go down to the Western Wall when the Jews come down to celebrate the night before of their Sabbath, the entrance into their Sabbath. And it's dancing and carrying on, and it's just beautiful. You see all of these old Hasidic Jewish men with all their garb, arm in arm, dancing in circles, with someone in the middle singing. It is so beautiful. I'm so thrilled that you're going to get to see that. You guys got to see that too.
We saw that, and we saw Hanukkah.
Yeah.
First night of Hanukkah.
Yeah, I think we're there during Hanukkah
We are.
again. Yeah, that's phenomenal. So that low season is really nice. As Dwayne said, our hotel is within walking distance, and almost every night we would walk into Jerusalem. Someone would go into Jerusalem. The Sea of Galilee, just recently they put just under the water tracks, and then they have a metal Jesus that comes through the water like this. No, I'm kidding. They don't do that. But that is a highlight for many people, that boat ride, because it's a religious experience, as is the garden. The garden would give you about half an hour just to get alone and pray by yourself. It is moving. And also, there's insurance available. We have flyers on. Oh, you're going to cover
It's on
that?
the back of the.
Okay, but then there are also there are extra forms. Maybe I have some of those with me.
Okay.
There's a separate brochure on that. And I said the average temperature in Jerusalem, in Israel, is 60 degrees. And I hope you pray about it and you're able to go.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. No, you don't need insurance to go. No, I don't think most people get it.
No, not that I heard. Yeah. Questions that you guys might have about the trip? Yep. Go ahead in the back. I'm sorry? Are you paying your own way the whole way? Yes. Paying. Yeah, in terms of cost. We used United this last trip in 2017. We used LL, yeah, which I preferred the Jewish airline just because it has the name God in it. If you're flying, that's important to me. But they treat you really, really well. Yeah, it's a great flight. Go ahead.
Can you expound on what her question was?
About cost. Yeah, just are you paying your own? The full amount is your responsibility. That's how I understood it. So.
I wasn't sure if that meant during the trip itself, things you paid for.
Yeah, so let me address that, what it is that you do pay for in the trip. So again, everything's covered in terms of the hotel, the airfare, all of the entrances to every national park, the museum fees, all of that is included.
Tips.
Tips as well. Yeah, and what you're responsible for is your lunch for the majority of the time. 2 of the lunches are covered in the tour, and then whatever you want to spend yourself, either at shops or anything else that you want to do while you're there. There's great coffee shops in Jerusalem, by the way. They have very good coffee.
And what is the currency then?
The Israeli shekel.
So you have to.
No, you don't. Most places they'll take your American credit card or they'll take U.S. dollars. You don't need to. Yeah, most. Did you guys experience anywhere where you had to use Israeli shekels? We had.
They prefer American dollars.
Yeah, of course they would prefer it. Yeah.
Bathrooms.
Yeah, bathrooms. Yeah, there was a bathroom. One of the gas stations, I think, was only. Yeah, you had to buy toilet paper if you didn't pack your own. So, yeah. Other questions that you have?
How long did you say your passport has to be good for?
6 months.
Not weeks, months.
6 months from the day you leave Israel. I think that's on the brochure, if I don't have that language exactly. Yeah, so when you register, they will ask you to send your photo page of your passport. You'll upload that onto with your registration, or they'll keep requesting you to get that done.
Do we have to let the church know that we're going to?
So they send us, when you register, every week then they send us an updated list of who's registered. So you'll be put into a group email through our church team systems, and then you'll start getting notifications or updates. Those that register will be notified. We'll have at least one more pre-trip meeting before we go with more details about how to pack, what to expect, the logistics of the trip, all of those types of things. Yes? Yeah, so yes, there were days, well, the Jordan had the longer trips, but the longer ones are optional. But the one day in Jerusalem where we get dropped off and then you're walking from site to site to site, I think that was on my phone, it was 12,000 steps that day, but it's spread out over the day.
Can I address that?
Yeah, please do.
On Jordan, what is it, the walking distance from the entranceway till you get to the treasury? Half a mile?
No, it was over a mile.
Is it?
Yeah, it's about a mile.
About a mile.
The entrance to the first
So
site. Yeah.
when you get to Jordan, when you get to Petra, the bus will drop you off, and then you walk a mile through those very high, narrow ravines until you get to the treasury. Once you get to the treasury, you will probably have another 5 or 6 hours in that area. And there's a lot of walking you can do, or there's another, how far? Another 2, 3, 4? How far would that be?
I feel like it was at least 6 miles
6 miles. Wow. I walked it. It didn't seem that far. But so once you do that mile, then you get into an open area where you can just explore. There's all kind of caves and temple things, and there's a lot to see. But you don't have to walk that whole distance. Yeah.
You know the struggles with my wife, right? If there's a day that she...
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so you have an option of unless it's a day where we're transitioning hotels, like if you're the day that we'll be going from Galilee to the Salt Sea or wherever, Salt Sea to Jerusalem. Unless it's that day, anyone can say, "Hey, I just want to stay back at the hotel today," and or even if we're mid-tour somewhere, especially in Jerusalem, we've had 2 tours ago. We had people that just took an Uber or a taxi back to the hotel when they were done when they were just tired and needed to go back. So that's always a possibility, and of course we work with everyone on that to make sure that can happen. Yeah. Go ahead. Another question. So that's included in the flight is included in the cost that's listed in here. Yeah, in the bottom there.
I saw in the pamphlet that Pilgrim Tours in Morgantown is where you send your information to.
Yeah, so if you don't...
If they wanted to go there in person, take your passport so they could take a picture or whatever and then give it that.
We can help you with that here, and you can just send it by mail if you like, or you can just register online with them and upload everything on the website.
But you could do that if you wanted to? Or?
I'm not sure about if you can just show up there or not, but yeah.
We could find out.
We can find out for you.
Sure.
We had been using a tour agency on the West Coast for the past several tours, and this year we decided to switch to another one, a different one, and this one is highly recommended. Sandy Adams, a big Calvary chaplain, they use Pilgrim Tours, and this one just happens to be out of Morgantown, not too far from here, so we're excited to use them. Go ahead.
Has there been any changes on the vaccines, on the COVID?
Nothing's needed.
There's no requirements. Yeah, no requirements for yeah, they had dropped that about 2 months before the last trip that we went in 22. Yeah, there's no requirements. Yeah, for sure. So on the bus they sell water. It's $1 a bottle, but you can also bring your own containers and fill up each morning. But you certainly want to drink a lot. So because Israel is really dry, you don't know how much you're sweating, and it's how quickly it's evaporating, so you lose water quickly where in the places that are hot. So on Masada, those areas, Engedi, when Salt Sea, all those areas, you sweat and it evaporates so quickly, and you don't know how quickly you're dehydrating. So yeah, you do need to keep drinking quite a bit.
Are there a lot of available restrooms around?
There are.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And the tour guide's very conscious about making sure we stop in time and asking, and yeah. And again, all the national parks, a lot of the really nice sites are national parks, and so they're great accommodations, very clean and very accessible. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So just be aware, do your research on it. Very important.
The tourist industry is expecting that 24 is going to be the largest that they've had. So just keep that in mind as well in terms of planning. It's going to be, we're expecting quite a few people. Yeah. All right. So again, if you have more questions, Ginger's number's on there, or reach out to Pastor Tom or myself, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. We're going to close with a quick video from that Jordani's had made, so we'll end with that. And thank you all very much for coming, and thank you guys for helping out a lot.
That's a synagogue in Capernaum where Jesus absolutely taught. You'll walk where he walked. There's Jesus. See him? That's En Gedi, where they think David might have hid out.
you all for coming. Let me just pray us out. Father God, we just commit this whole group to you. Lord, may you work in their minds and their hearts and just show them what you want them to do. And Lord, if it's possible for them to go, we just pray you work out all those details. And may you protect everybody as they go home tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.